Don't you think they are?
I call the January 22nd, 2024 Board of Education meeting to order. Wichita Public Schools will be the premier district of choice and inspire each student and staff member to thrive and become future ready within the greater community. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Our color guard tonight is provided by the Hamilton Middle School Royals Battalion Leadership Program. Commanding the color guard is Cadet Command Sergeant Major Liliana Morales Garcia, escorted by Cadet Sergeant First Class Elijah Walker. Carrying the Kansas flag is Cadet Sergeant Leland Clay, escorted by Cadet Master Sergeant Jordan Ray. Please stand for the presentation of the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. You may post the colors.
Thank you, ma'am. Order, colors, post. Post. Half left, face. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Present, arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, arms. Half right, face. Post. Right, face. Forward, march.
Please join me in thanking the Hamilton Middle School Royals Battalion leadership.
Good times. Great job.
I want to welcome everyone to the Board of Education meeting, and I also want to recognize that we have two elected officials present with us, our new Mayor Lily Wu and our City Council member from District 4, Dalton Glasscock. I want to thank you guys for being here tonight and your support for public education and your support for USD 259 students and families. Thank you. Patrick, first item.
First item, ceremonial oath of office.
Good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thank you. I am Laura Rainwater. I am your Sedgwick County Election Commissioner. Thank you for having me, but more importantly, thank you for serving and being an elected official. You 7 have the most important job and the most, you represent our youth and our future for tomorrow, and I can't say thank you enough. It's an unpaid position and a lot of hours and a lot of work go into it, and I thank you because I have kids and grandkids. I have my husband's an educator with USD 259, so I just want to say personally thank you. And congratulations to the new members. You have 2 newly elected, and congratulations on your reelection. So if you would all stand, we're going to do a ceremonial swearing in because they've all officially been sworn in, but we're going to do a ceremonial swearing in for all 7. If you'll just repeat after me, raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Kansas and faithfully discharge the duties of the Office of Unified School District 259
of the Office of Unified School District 259
School Board Member,
School Board Member,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations to all of you. Thank you again.
Thank you for that. Patrick, next item.
Next item, under student success, good news.
Good evening, board members. Congratulations to those of you who take the seat for the first time, Ms. McCray Miller and Mr. Vong. And congratulations to Mr. Reeser and to the 4 of you remaining who return for another year of faithful service. It's fitting that tonight was a first, the ceremonial swearing in of all 7 of you as we recognize School Board Appreciation Month in the month of January. So I know I speak for my colleagues in the audience and for all of those whose children you make decisions for every day. Thank you very much. We have one good news item tonight. It's actually a 2-part good news item, and it focuses on the JAG program and the great work that JAG is doing in our district. So I am pleased to invite Christy Prey with the JAG organization forward. And Christy is going to introduce you to some of the JAG friends that came along with her, so you can learn more about the 6 of 6 award that several of our schools have received, and you will also have a chance to hear from a WPS student. So without further ado, Christy, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Superintendent, board members, for having us out tonight, and I'm excited to be able to share with you some good news. I am Christy Prey. I'm the Regional Manager for Jobs for America Kansas, or JK, and I'd like to personally thank you for partnering with us as we support students. And I'd like to go ahead and thank the students that have come out tonight. They volunteered to come tonight to show their support of the program. The evidence-based program helps students prepare for post-secondary education and employment opportunities. JK programs across the state reported a graduation rate of 93% for the class of 2022. One area that I'm extremely proud of is our follow-up program. Career specialists, our JK teachers, stay in contact with their students for one entire year after graduation to support students on their successful pathway. I'd quickly just like to share a quick quote from one of our graduates from Wichita North. JAG taught me several things that I didn't know would be important in my life. JAG taught me to create a healthy work mindset, balancing work and family. It took me a while, but JAG also taught me to research and think for myself. I had no idea what I wanted to do as a career or what job I wanted to pursue, but JAG gave me goals and showed me what steps were needed to reach those goals. I am so grateful for the opportunities that forced me to get out of my comfort zone and create an open mindset. Miss Karima was very helpful, and I can feel and see the passion she has about guiding others to find their right path. I was very nervous taking on welding as a potential career, but Miss Karima reassured me that I could do whatever I put my mind to. Now I enjoy going to work every day, and I have a wonderful career in welding. I get to create machines out of simple pieces of metal. And this is a recent graduate, just from this past May. All of our JK programs in USD 259 are doing incredible things, but a few of them have earned the prestigious National 6 of 6 Award for 2023. The 6 of 6 Award is bestowed on those JAG programs that meet or exceed a performance measure in 6 categories: graduation rate, employment rate, full-time employment, total full-time positive outcomes, connectivity rate, and continued education. JAG, through this 12-month period, follows those seniors, and that's where our evidence-based data-driven model comes from. So at this time, I would like to recognize Karima Williams from Wichita North, Demarshe Franklin from Wichita West, and Ashley Bonds from Wichita Southeast. Congratulations for your hard work and dedications to your students and providing opportunities for them to learn about employment and post-secondary education. We'd also like to thank our principals, the district, and the board members for continuing to partner with us. Thank you so much. And now I have the honor of introducing you to our JK State President. She is a student at Wichita Southeast, and she's just going to share with you a few minutes about her opportunities. I'm sorry, this is Chari Moore.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everyone's day is going wonderful. I am Chari Moore, and I'm the state president of this amazing program named JAG-K. JAG-K has helped me out in so many ways and taught me so many things, and taught me also to not let things define us as human beings and write our own stories and follow our own paths. We are not our challenges, yet we grow from them. My biggest challenge is my mom, and I've let that affect so much of my life, in which I shouldn't have. Unfortunately, my mother suffered from mental illnesses and drug addiction, but I can't let her choices define me as a person and the woman who I am growing to be. I let my pride, my thoughts, my everything get to me instead of embracing every little thing that makes me me. It is hard having your mom choose something that doesn't love you as much as her flesh and blood. But if I can go back in time, I will show my mom how much I genuinely loved her, and all the times I treated her as a kid who would treat their favorite toy that is broken, I would take it back. But the woman I appreciate the most is my grandmother, who took me and raised me as her own child. She treated me like she carried me for 9 crucial, most powerful months, and she has watched me open my eyes for the first time to me opening my first job paycheck. She has watched me take my first stumbling steps as an infant to me taking my first stumbling steps in high heels. And she has watched so many milestones for me. She has always supported me and believed in me when at times I didn't believe it myself. And I will forever be thankful for her, because I wouldn't be the person who I am today. She's made me appreciate my life and turn my lemons into lemonade, and I am truly blessed, and I am a living testimony. I've beat the statistics of being raised by a single black mom, having a mentally ill parent, or not knowing who my father is, and so much more. My story is powerful, and I know there are people out there just like me, and I have a voice that I must use, and it must be heard, and make sure others are heard. And I realize JAG-K has taught me so much about the best I can be in life. Before JAG-K, I was this awkward, antisocial kid who sat in the back of a class and hoped no one sat by me. I lacked confidence in everything I did, and I was scared to try due to failure. But JAG has taught me, once you fail, just get up and try again, and again, and again, all over till you get it. There's nothing wrong with failing, but it's not okay when you don't try again and settle with failure. JAG-K has molded me into being a leader who can guide others to be positive role models for the next generation, because we all deserve guidance. JAG has made me overcome my fear of what people think about me and to be free and be me. JAG has helped me in so many aspects of my life, and not even just about business, but showing that they're here for the kids. Jobs for American graduates is what JAG is. Jobs for our youth is very important. Education for our youth is very important. And JAG helps the youth out with both. I have got involved in so much that I thought I would never do due to JAG. I used all my professional tactics that JAG has taught me to land me so many opportunities. My job as the state president is to pass the word and get as many people involved as I can, so they can go through life with the breeze as well. I cannot take all of the credit for my growth. It wouldn't be the truth. I must thank my wonderful specialist, Miss Ashley Vaughns. Over the course of me being in JAG, she has taught me so much. I know if I need a reference, I can call her. I know if I need advice for life, I can call her. And so much as a mentor, I can call her. To be honest, I was really scared to run for president, but Ms. Vaughns pushed me and let me know I could do it. Every time I won, she cheered me on and showed that she believed in me, and I'll forever appreciate that. She has showed me and other kids that she genuinely cares about us and wants nothing but the best for us. She has the biggest heart that I've ever seen, and she would give her shirt off her back if a student needed it. Every time I do something professional, I think of her because she taught me it. She taught me how to shake someone's hand properly, how to introduce myself properly, and how to believe in myself and be confident. I've never seen her not once come into our class in a bad mood. She's always in a bubbly yet helpful mood. I made my first resume by the help of her, and Lord knows if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have done it. Last year, our class made blankets for the Children's Mercy Hospital, and it was all her idea. We even wrote sweet letters to them expressing how great they are. And I'm truly appreciative of JAG because they also let me go to DC on them for free. And and I really appreciate that. And I believe that other students should be able to get that experience. I went to the Capitol, the Library of Congress. I met really big names and I did really big things and for free. So I think everyone should be able to experience that. And it's something that I'll never do in a lifetime. And I really appreciate JAG for that.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think everybody was touched by that. Thank you. Wow. Patrick, next item.
Next item, public communications.
Seeing no public comments. Oh, we do have one public comment.
I have Miss Connie Dietz registered to speak.
I'm sorry. I apologize about that. Connie, would you come down to the front? Public comments at a meeting will not exceed 3 minutes. It'll be limited to the registered topic and will not include personnel matters concerning district employees and/or matters that would violate the privacy of students. Connie, welcome, and thank you for being here.
I got it. Thank you for reminding me. I'll try to follow the rules.
I'm sure you didn't need to be reminded.
No, that's fine. Anyway, good evening. President Albert, Superintendent, and board members. My name is Connie Dietz, and as listed in the agenda, I live in zip code 67226, which places me in Julie Hedrick's district, District 2. I'm here this evening to congratulate and welcome our newly elected board members, Ms. Miller, Mr. Vong, and to congratulate Mr. Reeser for his reelection. Mr. Vong, I want to tell you it is truly exciting to have a 2018 graduate of South High School on our school board. That is really exciting. I'm very happy. Speaks well of our school district, I think, and of Wichita State, because that's where you're a student now. Anyway, I am excited to see the broad diversity of age, life experiences, and backgrounds represented on our board. The voters have spoken and elected you to represent them and to make decisions on their behalf. In so doing, they have entrusted you with the education and safety of our youngest and most vulnerable citizens. This is an overwhelming responsibility. It demands thoughtful, researched decisions on your part. You will face many challenges and opportunities, including budgetary, shifting demographics, facility needs, new demands from state and federal lawmakers, and expectations of special interest groups, parents, and many others. It will be your task to sift through the noise and focus on the approximately 45,000 students who enter one of our educational facilities every day, with the assumption that each of them will be welcomed, seen, and heard. I have no doubt that you, along with the majority of your other fellow board members, will work together to continue to make USD 259 the proud district that it is. Again, my congratulations, and I might say, good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Patrick, next item.
Next item, under Education, Department of Equity, Diversity, and Accountability, Overview of Future Ready Advocates and Mentorship.
Welcome, Dr. Polite, Mr. Reynolds. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, we'd like to recognize and thank Board of Education Vice President, Ms. Diane Albert, and the entire board this evening, and the new elects, and also Superintendent Bielefeld. Thank you for having us this evening and allowing us to present on such a busy evening. I am Dr. William Polite, Jr., and I currently serve as the Executive Director for the Department of Equity, Diversity, and Accountability for Wichita Public Schools. And I am joined this evening by Mr. Keith Reynolds,
who serves as the Director of Training for our department. And we're also joined by some of our department members way back up in the top there, and I'm going to mention them by name shortly here. Make sure I'm going the right way here. Our purpose tonight, everyone, is to simply inform the board on the mission, vision, and initiatives within the district's Department of Equity, Diversity, and Accountability, with a specific focus tonight on our department, our Future Ready Advocate Mentoring Program.
Our department has a vision statement. The Wichita Public Schools Department of Diversity and Equity and Accountability envisions a future in which students' outcomes are not predicted by student social factors or challenges. WPS is committed to ensure equitable and fair educational opportunities for all students by allocating resources while providing diverse learning opportunities. The key word and phrase in that statement is all students. And our primary objective is to help all students overcome challenges and cross the graduation stage.
As we look at how we define diversity, equity, and inclusion, we like to look through a really simplified lens. We know that the term DEI sometimes, team, it can be polarizing, but it really isn't when you look at it for what it really is. Diversity is just simply a presence of differences. And that's just a fact. You know, we're all different in some type of way. It's not just about race. We have different abilities, disabilities. We have different age groups. We have different socioeconomic statuses. We have different genders. We have different sexual orientations. Some of our students are homeless. Some are in foster care. Some have experienced different traumas. And these are just some of the examples of diversity in our district. And then when you think about inclusion, I'm going to skip over to inclusion real quick, and that's just but inclusion is an action, and that's just simply helping people have a genuine sense of belonging and value. And then when we come back to equity, you know, really I could just hold those people from JAG up. That's really equity work right there. It's giving every student what they need to succeed. And I commend you all on that work, the JAG folks there. When we look at this term, we define it as fair access, fair opportunity, and then the proper support to take advantage of that access and opportunities. And that's what we just saw with JAG. Now, while diversity is a fact, equity is a choice. Okay? I truly feel that all students can truly become prepared for life, careers, college, trade school, if they choose, right here in Wichita Public Schools. We have the resources, we have the staff, we have the leadership in Wichita Public Schools to ensure that every student lives up to their true potential. I've had the pleasure to work in Chicago, St. Louis, Milwaukee, Atlanta, Rockford, Illinois, and I believe that our school district here is second to none when it comes to opportunity and access. And I really mean that. I'm a graduate of Wichita North High School myself. The equity work is making sure that every student has the support they need, though, to experience success in our great district.
Along with equity work comes educational equity. We define that as making decisions strategically based upon the principles of fairness, which include providing a variety of educational resources, models, programs, and strategies according to students' needs. And that's important, and according to student needs. What one student needs may not be necessarily what another needs. So we understand one size does not fit all, but we want to make sure we value all of our students. It says that may or may not be the same for every student or school with the intention of leading to equality of academic outcomes. We want to make sure that, similar to an individual education plan, that all of our students receive the services that they need in order to be successful academically.
And before I go to the next slide, the picture that's up right now, you'll see my brother there. Many of you know him as D-Force. He's Darren Thomas, who graduated from Wichita Public Schools at the age of 58 because of the adult education program that we had in place. And that's just another example of giving someone opportunity and access, because when he came through back in the 70s, we didn't have all the laws in place and policies in place, and he was able to go back to school, graduate, and now is a student at Friends University in their Friendship Fields program, but out of Wichita Public Schools. So once again, some of our current initiatives here in our department, and I've been here about in my 6th year now. But we have what we call our 9503 initiative. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Our Future Advocate Mentoring Program, which we're going to talk about. Engaging congregations for future readiness. Our Juvenile Detention Mentoring Partnership has really been going well over the last 3 semesters as well. We're getting a lot of graduates, and that's something we might have to have a whole presentation on. Restorative Practices in our department is led by Mr. Rob Simon, who's here with us tonight. We have a Kinder Dads program where we're trying to engage our dads at the kindergarten level at some of our schools right now. It's just in its early in its 2nd year, really 3rd semester. Our BASE program, Better Academics and Social Excellence. Many of you have heard about that program. And then now we have a ladies part called Ladies for Academics and Social Excellence, led by Ms. Bell over at South High School. And then our Equity Learning Academy is led by our Keith Reynolds with our Equity Champions, and then our department trainings also led by Mr. Reynolds.
Our department takes pride in our training opportunities. We not only train in diversity, but we train in family engagement, burnout, professional boundaries, conflict resolution, sensitivity training, things that will make for a healthier well-being in our workforce, particularly with our valued staff members. We partnership with everyone. We want to be ambassadors to this wonderful community. So training has taken place in churches. For the city of Wichita, other school districts as well. We've done training locally on a state basis as well as national training. Our customers can choose from a multitude of training topics, and so we actually create training for them upon request. Also, after each training session, a link to an electronic feedback form is given to participants, and it's a training evaluation form. The results from that have been pretty good for us. 90% of the participants have found our sessions applicable to their role. 90% were able to take learning back to their building and implement what they learned in training immediately. And 90% increase understanding and knowledge from the topic presented. Our audience pretty much consists primarily of teachers. A lot of teachers have been trained. Afterwards, we work with building administrators as well as district administrators and support staff as well. Our training objective is pretty much similar to the goal of USD 259, and that is to connect and to unite people.
Thank you, sir. I want to talk just briefly about one of our initiatives called, that I mentioned, Engaging Congregations for Future Readiness. This initiative started last year when former Superintendent Dr. Thompson reached out to the community for more support with our students. And we came up with this idea of engaging our faith-based community to work with students in their congregations with our 9503 initiative, which stands for 95% attendance, 0 suspensions, and a 3.0 GPA, setting as those goals. Right now we have about 35 churches who have signed in onto the initiative, about 17 to 20 who've been consistently active with the initiative. Our question to our churches simply is, do you know how the students in your congregation are doing? And then, how can we help you with the students in your congregation? We meet bi-monthly with our participants and share different resources as well as information about various opportunities within Wichita Public Schools. And then the next initiative I'd like to share a little bit about is BASE. And this is an initiative that we started about 6 years ago, and it stands for Better Academics and Social Excellence, and it was created as part of our Council of Great City Schools Males of Color Pledge. You know, we try to highlight our young men in our district through this initiative who are trying to do and striving to do the right thing in school and on a daily basis. You don't have to be a young man of color to be a part of the BASE program. We simply want to share the narrative that we have a lot of great young men in our district who are meeting the BASE standards of a 3.2 GPA, good behaviors, and good attendance. The young men on these slides were in the 9th grade on these pictures, who were at our first BASE conference in partnership with Wichita State University. about 5 years ago. And 6 of these young men received scholarships from WSU last year and now are freshmen on their campus as a result of this initiative. I don't have the exact graduation rate for this group, but I think it's probably nearly 100%. Our 6 base pillars, as you can see, are brotherhood, leadership, college and career readiness, health and wellness, identity, and then community service. This is what we're really here to talk about tonight, and for the last part of our presentation here, and that's the Future Ready Advocate Mentoring Program, or FRAM as it's known throughout the district and the community. We're in our 3rd year with this initiative, and it currently serves 14 schools consistently, and also we hold mentoring groups at 7 other schools within the district. FRAM is a school-based mentoring program in Wichita Public Schools that targets students who have demonstrated a need for a positive role model to help them with behaviors and also attendance and academics. Now, we did start out with a focus on our African-American males due to suspension rates, but now this is expanded to working with students of all races, genders in the schools that we serve. We have girls groups as well as boy groups in many of our schools. You know, one of the best ways to really explain the work of FRAM, I seen this on a video. A gentleman from Avid, he held up $2 and he asked a simple question. And some of you might have seen this and said, how much, we got a really sharp board and superintendent here, how much is this dollar worth? Anybody? How much is this? It's not a trick question. How much is this dollar worth?
$1.
$1, okay? So you're telling me that this is worth $1 and this is worth $1, right? Okay, so if I take this dollar bill and I ball it up and crumble it up, and then I ask you, how much is this dollar worth? And then how much is this dollar worth? Still worth $1. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, Kathy, you're really smart with it. How about if I take that dollar and I stomp it on the floor and crumble it up and put it through a bunch of trauma there, and then we pick it back up and we ask the question, how much is this dollar worth? And how much is this dollar worth? Now, if I was to ask you now, which dollar am I going to try to get into Coke Machine University to get that Diet Coke that I want? I'm probably going to try to get that dollar in first to get him into Coke Machine University. But, and I didn't make this up, I stole this, y'all. But that's the work of FRAM, that's the work of equity, is finding those crumbled up dollar bills and knowing that they also have the same value as that dollar bill who didn't have to go through that same type of trauma. And that's where the equity work comes in. That's what the young lady from JAG was just talking about with her JAG sponsor. That she helped her come, and it takes that equity work, just helps me. I have to do a little extra work with that dollar bill to get him in the Coke Machine University. Might have to put him on my knee and stretch him out, show him a little more help that they need. And that's the work of FRAM. That's the work of the equity work within our district, not just in our department. We have a lot of departments in our district that's doing this type of work in Wichita Public Schools. I just showed you my brother there, and where he got the love and the access and the opportunity to support that he needed as well. I'm not going to go just in detail. This is the original definition board. You all have the job definition of the Future Ready Advocate that we started with there. And then I do want to take a moment, though, to talk about our current Future Ready Advocates. We have a great team. I call them the dream team. Some of them are here tonight. Some of them are coaches also in the district, and they're coaching middle school basketball tonight, a number of them. But we have Mr. Hercules Finley, who works over at Truesdale and South. I think he's here with us tonight. Coach Larry Allen, who's over at Robinson. I think he had a game tonight. Mr. Lavelle Jackson, he's over at Curtis, working with the team over there with Ms. Reddick. Tony Johnson, doing a great job out at Northwest, also has groups at Pleasant Valley and Wilbur. Michael Lewis, he's working over at Jardine and Meade with our young men and women over at those two schools. Mr. Odell Harris, he's here tonight. He's working with us over at West and over at Allison. Mr. Joe Mitchell's also here with us tonight. He's working at Stuckey and Heights and Jackson Elementary. We are plugging into some of our elementaries now. And then Mr. Tyrone Berry, he had a game tonight. I don't think he could make it, but he's at Southeast and Coleman, along with Kaylin Loggins, who's at Southeast and Coleman. Then Mr. Scotty Welch and Daryl Biggs, who just joined our team this year. Mr. Welch is at Griffinstein Wells doing a great job there, and Mr. Daryl Biggs is over at Truesdale and South with Mr. Hercules Finley. We'd like to talk about the fact, guys, that we are a research-based mentoring program as well. But before I go on to that, I do want to come back here and just say real quick that we also have in our house our restorative practice guru, Mr. Rob Simon, and I think he's here tonight, and Gwen Duggins, who's not here, but serves as our climate and opportunity lead. And I must mention that all of these individuals, this is an interesting fact, except for one, are graduates of Wichita Public Schools that I just mentioned. And many of them have overcome those same obstacles that many of our students face on a daily basis. I like to refer to them as the dream team, and I don't say that lightly. They are all community leaders. Some are ministers, some are deacons in their churches, some are entrepreneurs, but most importantly, they're all here because they love the mission and vision of the work that we do with the Future Ready Advocate Mentoring Initiative, and I mean that. I couldn't have a better team. I wish we had time to hear from each one of them on why they do this work, or actually the ministry, I should say. But we meet every Friday morning at AMAC. You all are always welcome to come and meet with us and talk with us. Most of them work very closely with the administrative teams at their schools on a daily basis, and they serve in various capacities in their schools. All of them hold regular power groups with their young men. As I mentioned, many are now hosting girl groups. Our director of training, Mr. Reynolds, he actually leads 3 groups at the Gateway Alternative School. In our department administrative assistant, Irma Bigelow, she actually leads a group at East High School and also works with some girls at Chester Lewis. And so we're all jumping right into the work. A little bit just real quick on our research that we're based on, Rothenbrenner's ecological systems theory. And just in the middle, I won't go into detail for time's sake, but in the middle of that circle, those circles, you see a young man, and that's his microsystems that he's a part of. And you see the home, you can see the religious setting, the school, and then the neighborhood. That's the microsystems. And then the second circle there is what you call the mesosystems. That's the home, the school, the neighborhood, and the religious setting, or lack of, or it could be a neighborhood team. But how do we get those systems to work together for the betterment of this young man in the middle, or young lady in the middle of the circle? And that's what our research is based on. That's what the FRAM team does, is work with the home, the school, sometimes the church and the engaging congregation piece, and then the actual neighborhood too, to make sure that child is successful in our school district. And then the second part of our research that we base our work upon is the phenomenological variant ecological systems theory, which is a part of Rothenbrenner system. And I'm not going to go into detail, but it's the net vulnerability that just where I'm born at leads to a certain amount of net stress. And number 3 at the bottom there, and that's where we start seeing our kids at reactive coping processes. Some of those are maladaptive, some of those are adaptive processes, but that leads to those emergent identities that we see in our schools. If they don't have the right supports back here where they experience that net stress, and it can lead to some very unproductive or productive stage coping outcomes here. I had another slide on there, but I think I didn't get to put it back on. But we talk about academic identity and the individual's attempt to construct self-understanding and meaning by defining themselves through academic values, school belonging, school regard, and school performance. So how do I feel about myself as a student? How do I define myself as a student? And then we talk about in the work of improving social emotional well-being there. In our FRAs, they mentor students and form relationships with them, working on self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, self-managed, and peer relationships. And I think your handouts, Pat, I think one of the slides didn't go on and it got changed, but on there I had a bus with half of it was a prison bus and half of it was a school bus. And that's a big part of the work there too, is how do we make sure that our kids don't end up on the wrong side of that bus with this work, with some of those stage-specific outcomes. I just realized that it didn't go through when we changed some of those slides here. And then, of course, we promote restorative practices in our work. And we practice these conferences by caring, listening, encouraging, instilling hope, and then building relationships. And one of the ways that we do that is through our I'm going to go here to our wildly important goals. I don't want to run out of time here. But two of our goals this year was to help working with our senior liaisons at our schools to increase our graduation rates by 5% for African American males, hopefully from 74.9% to 79.9%, and then decreasing the amount of in-school and out-of-school suspensions for our students that are directly on our caseloads by 10% for this school year. And one of the ways we do that and measure that, our leads, is just through the number of contacts that we make on a regular basis. In first semester, you can see we had almost 1,200 total unique student contacts, and for a total of 9,203 overall contacts with our students. And I'm sorry that the slide I had, is you can't see it, but most of those were simply check-ins as well. And I'm going to keep pushing there just to show a little bit about how we're looking at our African-American seniors to help them with this graduation. We set a goal at 85%. We know that's very aggressive. But if you look at I'm just going to explain those real quick for each school. I'm not going to go by each school. But the way we looked at it to start the school year was the number of African-American males at each high school that were considered seniors. And if you just use Heights, for example, there's 52 African-American male students there at Heights. 27 were considered on track. To hit an 85% mark, they would have to have 44 of those students to graduate. We know that's very aggressive. But so that would be a deficit of 18 students there at Heights. But if you look at the number of students at Heights that have, of those young men that had 7 or less credits remaining, then you can see that's very doable. And you go down that last column there, and you can begin to see that this is doable to raise those graduation rates. And we're being very intentional with every single student that we're working with at most of the schools. We're at most of the schools working with those senior liaisons at the schools. And then we're going to wrap up here with just a little bit of a message from some of our principals and some of our, and I hope we got this queued up right, Patrick, to play here, and some of our students. And we're going to wrap up with that tonight. And we will be sending out information sheets for everyone later in the week as well. And this is just a short little video here. Let's see if we can. Oh, can we get the volume there? What do you do there?
I don't know if we're going to be able to get
in and completely change because they know it. It instantly gives us a chance to have conversations that I think we probably wouldn't be able to authentically have without the advocates. And it's made a huge difference. And
we really aren't seeing those behaviors anymore. They're pretty rare. So he definitely has had an impact too. I have seen some amazing things happen when those kids have that person that they feel is holding them accountable. I genuinely see them doing things that they would not be doing if it weren't for that connection.
And we've really seen a tremendous change in the boys that he's working with. And in fact, they are turning into positive leaders in our school, and they are just improving the whole culture of our student body.
Mr. Jackson is proactive and goes to those students before being asked for. And that's really what I appreciate as an administrator, is having a person take the time and investment to do that.
The impact, you may not see it right now, but we're going to start seeing it next year, the year after, and I pray for many years. It's money well spent.
Also seeing strong African-American men with positive, affirmative type of relationships with kids.
He's always there for me. He's not a teacher. He's more of a big brother. He
inspired me to be like the best person I can be.
They're kind of like father figures to me because I don't go with a dad around the house.
At the end of the school year, I was like, I wanted to drop out of stuff because I'm a senior. And just recently, I got accepted to Butler because of Miss Hughes and Mr. Johnson. Like, they motivated me, kept the positivity around me.
Helped me not doubt myself as much, and helped me figure out that I was much worth. I'm worth a lot more than what I thought I was.
Mr. Jason, he's my best friend, and
He's the best teacher I never had because he saved my life.
Knows our neighborhood, knows our students, is from the community that they can identify with.
What would serve us best would be to have a future ed advocate, a male and female, in every building full-time. That's the thing that I think we're missing, if anything.
It's been a valuable, almost irreplaceable resource to have that extra support in the building and mentorship with kids that we struggle to connect with otherwise. He's great. We love him, and let's keep doing this as long as we can. And in fact, if we can make it bigger, we should do that too.
You know, beyond the data, these men are making a difference.
Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, now it just came. There was a delay. I think Knock is first. Knock?
Thank you, Dr. Polite and Mr. Reynolds. Some questions I have, more so in distinguishing FRAM from other school-based mentoring programs. Just to clarify, it seems this is more in-house.
Yes, we're in-house. They work actually for the district, where many of our other mentoring programs are community-based mentoring programs. And so having those mentors in-house every day, that's just really a radio call away sometimes versus the check-in, the weekly check-ins.
Have we done any comparative studies with FRAM as opposed to other school-based mentoring programs that are more so community-based?
Not yet.
Okay. The next question I have, I'm looking at the student contact data, and I'm curious what explains the discrepancies. I mean, we see North High.
Well, that's one right there with Mr. Tony Johnson. He just puts in every single contact, and we all should be doing that. So we probably have a lot more contacts than we have there, but he's just very detailed oriented on his data. So, but let me say this: we do have some great community-based mentoring programs too. So that isn't a knock against community-based mentoring programs too. We have some great ones that we work with as well. So let me just say that. But sometimes your school-based mentoring programs just serves a little bit of a different purpose because you're actually a part of the staff at the school as well.
I think from my lens is looking at it from like an efficiency standpoint and prevention of duplication of services. The last question I have, what are some opportunities for improvement for the FRAM program?
That's a great question, because you can always improve. You can always improve. And really, it comes down to relationships a lot of times with your administrators and with those in your building. So really, just better communication on our part as well, and with the purpose of the Future Ready Advocate in the school building. And so that's one area we definitely want to improve in the buildings that we're in, is that communication piece. So the teachers know that, and staff know how to even refer the students, which we have a system, but the communication could be a little better, I think.
I yield my time.
Thank you.
Kathy?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you doesn't cover the appreciation I have for your presentation to the board as well as to the community. I love what you're doing for all students. Thank you.
Thank you for having us, Kathy. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Melody?
Thank you. Blue. I'm new, so. Thank you, Dr. Polite, for all that you do in the community and that you've been doing. I have a couple of pointed questions. I know that looking at our strategic plan that was just conducted and completed, we're looking at a approximately 66% graduation rate for black males across the district. That's not school to school to school, it's across the district. So I did hear you say that you'd like to reach that 85%, and looking at our the one that you have here, what do you think needs to be put into place where we can reach enough black male students that we could actually meet that goal? What would you say would be beneficial?
Well, I think as a district, we're doing a lot better. Actually, that 66, 67% was the year before. And actually, last year, that number now has went up to 74.9%.
For black males.
For black males, yes.
Okay, excellent.
And so now our goal is to raise that another 5%, Ms. Melody, to 79.4, and working. But the work that we've been seeing with our senior liaisons, and then but having those sometimes in our schools, people are busy doing the work that they do, and you don't have a chance to do some of that outside work, and that's what that meso system work. We're connecting with the school, the neighborhood, the church, the families, and so to be able to work on some of those things that take place outside of the classroom are really where you're finding so many of your obstacles for graduation. It's not happening in the classroom all the time. It's outside of the classroom. And if we can help students overcome some of those obstacles, as we talked about, some of them, just poverty brings along another set of obstacles so many times. But when you can help students and having these type of initiatives in place to help those students with some of those other areas outside the classroom.
So I hear you saying that not everything is going to happen in the classroom.
Right.
Not everything is, we're going to have to be able to get outside of the classroom, connect with our communities.
Yes.
And bring in all of those wonderful resources that we know are out here.
Yes.
And connect them.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So the next thing has to do with actually looking at outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you said you do, you assess the trainings, because I heard 90%. Yes. So in terms of looking at outcomes for each of the different areas that you, that your program
Mm-hmm.
administers,
Mm-hmm.
is there an actual evaluation process? What are the tools?
Yes, we'll be sharing some data with you on some information sheets that's coming out. We could have got into a deep data dive tonight, but
And I'm feeling pressure to stop talking. So thank you.
No, you're fine. No, but we have lots of data to share about a number of our programs, though. We really do.
Excellent.
And so we just kind of skimmed the surface a little bit tonight, just for time's sake.
Excellent.
But
You're doing good work.
plenty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Superintendent?
So I appreciate the presentation, and thank you guys. Dr. Polite did a great job of celebrating his team, but I also would like to take a moment to celebrate Dr. Polite. We would not be here without you and your leadership and guidance. So it's good work. We're going to continue good work, keep moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Well done.
All right.
And if anybody would like to learn more and do more data
Yes.
dives with them, it is very interesting information, and I've always enjoyed our conversations
Yes.
when
More
you
than
share
happy
that.
to.
So,
More than happy to.
so thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Patrick, next item.
Next item under education, McKinney-Vento Families in Transition.
So we'll just take a second to transition the slides to our next presenters. All right.
Welcome, Denise, Dee Dee. Thank you for being here.
Good evening. I would like to request that I not follow Dr. Polite next time, because I don't know if it's going to be near as engaging of a presentation. But
Yeah, I don't have any cash on me, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
but we are so appreciative of their support. They truly is a dream team. And tonight we're going to share a bit of information about McKinney-Vento, and a program that also supports some of our students who experience another factor that they have to overcome. But first, I want to say good evening, Board of Education members, Superintendent Bielefeld. Welcome to our 2 new board members, and happy Board Appreciation Month. We thank you so much for just the time and efforts that you give, going above and beyond. It's a lot of work and a tough job, so we appreciate y'all. My name is Dee Dee Stroot. I have to remember to introduce myself because we have new faces. I support our federal programs amongst a lot of things. One of those is the McKinney-Vento program. I will soon turn it over to Denise to share a little bit more, but advance that. Why does this program exist? Well, it was a federal law passed in 1987 to address education of homeless students specifically. So that's known as the McKinney-Vento Act. And every district is required to have a homeless liaison, which is Denise. So I'm going to turn it over to her to share more about the work we do in our district.
Thank you, Dee Dee. My name is Denise Lawson, and I am the Title Services Manager for the district and also the current district homeless liaison. I have been the homeless liaison for almost 1 year. I did have I was fortunate enough to actually supervise the program for the last 3 years, so our last liaison retired. So I do want to say before I start with my presentation that although it's just Dee Dee and I presenting, it really does take an entire team to help with educating our homeless students and making sure that they get the things that they need. I did ask my team to come so that I could recognize them. As soon as I said I was going to ask them to stand up, it was crickets. And I don't believe any of them are here, but I hope some of them, they're very humble and don't really like the limelight. They do what they do because they are very passionate and compassionate about what they do and not because they want the recognition. But I do want to recognize that I do have 11 other staff members that are very valuable to the program and do a lot of the work. So what I've shared with you here is, like Dee Dee said, every district is required to have a homeless liaison, and there are 10 requirements for that liaison to take care of. I'm not going to read them all to you, but I will point out some key ones that you'll see kind of a theme throughout the presentation. So one of those is identification of homeless students. That's a very important one. Wouldn't have the program if we didn't identify them. Another is to make sure they have immediate enrollment in schools, and I'll talk about what that means here in a little bit. Education and training of district staff. That's, even though I have a department of 11 that help with this, educating and training the different district staff on what our homeless students need is of utmost importance because they are they're the ones that are seeing the kids every day. And then identifying and supporting some unaccompanied youth. And I'll talk about what unaccompanied youth means here a little bit later and explain what that means. So who do we serve in our program? We serve any student enrolled in USD 259 along with their family members who lack and these are 3 very key terms, a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. When people think of homeless, they think of the HUD definition of the person living on the street, but that is not the case necessarily with our families. The McKinney-Vento Act allows us to broaden that to families that are living doubled up due to loss of housing for financial reasons. We have some families that are doubled up due to medical reasons, things like that. Temporary living in hotels or motels, transitional housing, shelters, drug rehab, domestic violence, things like that. And then we do have what a lot of people can think about the homeless, and that's parked cars and tents. Unfortunately, this year we have had people living in garages. We do have families that have lived in tents. We do have families that lived in campgrounds. So when we talk about fixed, regular, and adequate, it kind of give you some examples. So we have students that live in a house. That house is fixed and is regular, but the house doesn't have running water. The house doesn't have heat, so that's not adequate. So to us, they are considered homeless. We have families that are staying with various friends. You look at that as adequate because they have a house over a roof over their head and they're staying with friends, but it's not fixed and it may not be regular. So they would be considered homeless. And finally, the last, like I said, living in tents or places like that, you could look at that as regular because that's where their regular living is, but that's not adequate nor is it fixed. And so any of those kinds of things would make those students for us be considered homeless. Now I want to kind of share with you the numbers that we've served over the years. You'll see the fluctuation in the history, and part of it is due to when the reauthorization happened, they took out the wording of awaiting foster care. It used to be that when students were awaiting, not necessarily in foster care yet, but were awaiting to be placed, they would be considered in our program. That is no longer part of the law. That is now covered under a different section, and so those students are not counted in our numbers. You can also see kind of where the pandemic hit, and we had, less students reaching out for services, but we still had a significant number. You can see now our numbers right now are above and beyond what was 21, 22. I predict that we will probably exceed the 22, 23 numbers this year. Most people will come to the conclusion that's because we have more homeless in Wichita. I would say that's probably a good conclusion, but I will also say that it is probably due to better training of our staff who can better identify those students and get them services, which means that we can get them enrolled in our program. Also, we have kind of done a campaign for public awareness to make sure that we have posters in hotels, motels, any kind of programs that we may have out there that we may be able to connect with to provide those services. So we do have more community members that contact us now. We also unfortunately have a high refugee population this year. And newcomers. We work closely with the Multilingual Educational Services to identify those students. They are, again, thank you, Shannon, and your team. You are fantastic. They definitely reach out to us whenever they feel like there's a family that's in need. We've had some really sad stories come through. You know, a lot of them come over with the intention of, they're not coming over the intention for themselves, but to better their life for their children. And so education is one of those important goals that they always have. They don't come over with the intention of being homeless. Unfortunately, some of them have had to pay ransom to get their children back who have been kidnapped because they tried to, a lot of Venezuelans tried to get them into the military. We've had a lot of refugees from those areas. But so they do have some sad stories when they come over. And again, they're not necessarily coming with the intention to be homeless. It's the situation that happens when they get here. So we want to make sure that we embrace them and get their kids the education and why they want to be here. So let's talk about the educational rights of homeless students. And most everyone would think, well, they will have the same educational rights as the rest of the students, and that's absolutely right. They do. And that is what our program makes sure, is that we are making sure those students receive the same educational rights as students who are not homeless. Some of the biggest key things that I want to take out of this is the immediate enrollment. Homeless students are, and we are required by federal law to enroll them immediately. In other words, if they walk in and say, I have no proof of address because I am homeless, we must enroll them. We must enroll them without proof of address, without documentation, without immunization shots. You must get them in school immediately, and then that's what our department does, is work with them to get those records. We also have some wonderful school staff that jump on that immediately and start contacting other schools and other districts. Hey, we need these records. We help parents get driver's license, birth certificates, social security cards, things like that, so that they can continue on and don't have those issues later on. They're also allowed to remain in their school of origin. School of origin is basically the school the student went to before they became homeless. So, for example, if a student was in Adams Elementary, something has happened, they have now become homeless, and they have now moved into, say, the area for Benton, we allow them to stay at Adams. We do that by making sure they receive transportation. The family has a choice to move their student to Benton if that's what they choose to do. Some do, and I will tell you the reason. We don't encourage them to move because we like the kids to have stability in that school of origin. But I will tell you, there will be some families that don't have vehicles and they feel very uncomfortable when their student isn't close to them. And so moving where they have moved sometimes is their comfort. And so mom can walk to the school and get the kid if something is wrong, things like that. But as far as educational wise, we encourage them to stay where they are. And then, like I talked about, unaccompanied youth. So unaccompanied youth are allowed to enroll themselves without a proof of legal guardian. And so I'll kind of explain what an unaccompanied youth is here next. But that's a big one, is that when a student walks in and says, hey, I need to enroll myself, we consider them unaccompanied, and we make sure that they get enrolled in school. And then we ask questions later. So who are our unaccompanied youth? They are children or youth who are not in the physical custody of their legal parent or guardian. A lot of people would think foster care. Like I said, that is not foster care. These literally are children that are not a ward of the state. They don't have a legal custodial parent or guardian they're living with. Some would call them couch surfers. They are generally a lot of our juniors or seniors. That is who we have as unaccompanied youth. Not a lot of, but I mean, that's who they are. I have had unaccompanied youth in elementary school. Generally, when that happens, DCF gets involved and those kids are placed, or grandma's been trying to get custody, or sometimes when that happens is because a parent goes to jail and they have not made plans, things like that. And so we do consider them unaccompanied youth, but we know eventually that they will be accompanied by somebody. But we currently right now have 91 unaccompanied youth in our program. It's not a high number for our program, but it is a lot high number for what people think about. So think about that as these are kids that are living with friends and family members, or maybe living on their own. We've had unaccompanied youth living in cars. But the fact that we have 91 unaccompanied youth, that means there's 91 youth that don't have a parent that still want to get their education. And so that is important, that we support them the best way that we can to make sure that they finish and graduate. So someone would say, what are the reasons for kids being unaccompanied, and why don't we call the police and say, hey, we've got an unaccompanied youth? That's not our job. Our job is to make sure they continue the education that they deserve. And so youth can be unaccompanied for a variety of reasons. They choose to leave home. They could choose to leave home due to issues with parents, drugs, neglect, abuse. They can also, sometimes some of the homeless shelters have an age limit and they can't bring certain age children into the shelter, so maybe the little ones and mom will go, but the older child can't. And they run away from foster care. They go into foster care, but they end up running away as a minor, and so they become an unaccompanied youth with us. The big one is aging out of foster care. They age out of foster care and still enrolled in school with us, and so once they turn 18, they're out, but what do? They come an unaccompanied youth because they don't have a custodial parent or guardian. And so we try to make sure we work closely with the neglected and delinquent team that does our incarcerated and foster care youth to make sure that we capture those kids. Hey, you're getting out, let us know. We have supports for you over here too. And then some of them are just asked to leave. They don't agree with their parents' rules. Parents kick them out for whatever reason. Teenage pregnancy, unfortunately. Sometimes sexual orientation. Just parents just ask students to leave and they're just on their own. And so that's when we come in to make sure that they get to continue their education, and so that they don't feel as if they just have nowhere to go. So here are some common barriers when you're looking at overcoming educating homeless students. And let me just point out, these aren't barriers that we have created. These are just general barriers to think about when you look at our homeless kids. We've talked about the need for documentation. Transportation is a problem. We do transport. We still follow the transportation, the 2.5 miles. But we also help. If that doesn't help, we provide city bus passes. We've done Ubers. We've done gas cards for students that actually have vehicles. We've done bikes for students that walk to school and are the 2.5. So some of the elementary kids have a hard time getting to school and say, hey, if we got you a bike and a helmet and a cool lock, and a lot of them just are like, yeah, that's great. So they have lack of food. There's communication issues not only with language barriers, but there's also communication issues with technology. A lot of our families don't have access to internet technology, things like that, which people are surprised these days that people don't have that, but they don't. Not everybody has that, and not everybody's fortunate to have that. So they have increased behavior issues. There's a lot of distrust in authority because people will call our program and say, hey, I really need the help, but I'm afraid you're going to turn me over to DCF. We have refugees families that come in that have had bad experiences with authority, and so they think, well, I don't want you putting me in a database and my name out there. And so we have to very much tell them that, that's not what we're here for. We're here to help your student be educated. We're not here to to turn you in. we will if we see neglect or abuse or things like that, but that's not what our main goal is. Our main goal is to make sure that we keep kids educated. And there's the lack of hygiene products. Sometimes there's shame from peers and adults. And sometimes there's just being scared of the shame. If somebody finds out I'm homeless, they're going to make fun of me. They're going to think less of me. Adequate supplies to attend school. Don't have paper or pencils. So we do supply all that. And then just lack of adequate sleep. If you're if you're a homeless situation, you're probably not getting much sleep. And we all know, everybody's been there. Get a fuzzy head when you don't have enough sleep. You've got, your mental, and then you start having health problems. And so a lot of our students, fall asleep during class, things like that, oversleep in the morning and don't make it to school. And so those are some of the barriers that we have with some of our students. So these are just some of the resources we provide. You can see a picture of one of our resource room. We caught it on a lucky day that it was nice and organized for you. But I have some great people that work on that. But we get donated supplies and stuff to do some of our things. But again, what we do is help with immediate enrollment, transportation, the basic hygiene, food, clothing, medical and dental help. We don't actually do medical and dental, but we can help with glasses. This year we've helped a couple of students who are diabetic to make sure that there is a testing kit and testing strips at the school for them so that they don't miss school. School supplies, document assistance, as I talked about, during and after school fees, like CTE fees. We've helped with books and things like that. And then we just, basically what we can't do, we connect them to outside services. And so we have lots of outside services that we work with that we can refer families to when we can't actually help them. And then we have additional resources for our graduating seniors, which is a special place in our hearts. So right now we currently have 71 seniors enrolled in our program, and 35 of those are unaccompanied youth. We assist with cap and gown and other graduation needs. It depends on what our donation money is. We're limited with some of our federal funds, but with some of our donation money, sometimes we're able to get senior hoodies and things like that for them, and so we want to make sure they get the same experiences. We write letters to colleges for unaccompanied youth so that they can fill out their FAFSA as independent and receive all of the financial aid that they are deserving. We also write letters so that we verify they're not necessarily unaccompanied, but just homeless, so they can waive college application fees. And we do a project graduation every year. Last year we went to, we'll probably do it again this year, Dave & Buster's. We take the kids there, get them a meal, get them game cards, let them go have a fun time, come back, do a little giveaway for them. We usually have bags for them to take to college, most of our kids, which is very, very happy to say that most of our kids do end up going to a post-secondary school. And so we do that every year for them to give them something to kind of look forward to for graduating. So having said all that, how do we pay for what we do? First of all, we get a McKinney-Vento sub-grant each year. This is a competitive grant that has to be written. It is federal funds that pass through the state. Usually it's one of 12, one of 14 this last year to get the grant. We will write it every single year. It's not formula funded. It is basically, here's what I want to do, here's how much I need, and then the state awards what they can to us. And then we have part of our Title I set aside is required for homeless students, so we set that aside. Donation, monetary and non, we could not do what we do if the community did not help us. We have some phenomenal community members that have been long-standing donators that give money on a regular basis or just call and say, hey, what do you need? We have a church that continuously brings us snack bags so that we can provide to students. We use Facebook a lot to put out there, hey, we're going to do this program. Can anybody donate some towels or some things like that? So our community and even our district employees this year stepped up. We do a holiday distribution, and we did an angel tree this year, and AMAC and Service Center, phenomenal amount of donations that came just from those employees. And I even had Nutrition Services that said, they apologize. Oh, we don't have all of our stuff yet. Some of our employees are waiting to get paid. And I'm like, that's just some of the community things, and even our district employees that support our program. And we also this year were fortunate in the last couple of years to have the ARP HCY money, which is the American Rescue Plan Homeless Children and Youth Funds. They are past what we got for ESSER, so this is a separate pot of money that we got specifically just for the homeless. And so that actually expires in September, but that has allowed us to do some things. We've added new FTE positions. Last time I presented, we collaborated with T-Mobile to do some cell phones. We still have those cell phones. Those have been kind of successful, but for the more of, we were hoping for unaccompanied youth, but more for like our families, which is fine, as long as somebody's getting the phones and using them. We'd be able to increase our supply. Before we could only give uniform school kids 2 uniforms. Now we can give them 4 to 5, which means they don't have to wear the same uniform twice in a week, and they have the option of laundry at the end of the week. Resource books, we do summer packs. We've been able to do extended motel stays for some people. We talked about some of the transportation things we've done, district professional development. We've been able to take in our database that we use things to bulk it up a little bit to do more data collection and more outcomes. We purchased a van. We actually purchased a van to help with getting families to appointments and other things. And then I have some long-term subs in that help with some various stuff.
So again, this program exists to support our students in transition, and it takes a wonderful team of people to pull all of those things that Denise just shared, to pull them off, and just to, in summary, say thank you to our community and our district for the ongoing communication and collaboration, because it wouldn't be possible without that as well. At this time, we just want to thank you for allowing us to share and see if you have any questions.
Okay. Hazel?
So first of all, I want to say that you are a part of unsung heroes that we have in our district. We have many, but I had opportunity to visit your program after meeting them at a district meet and greet. And I want to say, first of all, that you are very organized. Your food pantry, your clothing closet, your household essentials. You do so much in family support. I was able to attend a family night where there was like standing room only. There were tons of families, children and families, and played bingo, and you had gifts, and it just really, and the church was there, and they were helping and feeding everybody, and so it was just a great program. I do want to just say that you do take donations from anybody and everything. And the other thing that I really appreciated was your opportunity that you had to adopt seniors, where you accepted donations that went specifically to seniors who were graduating, and that was a really kind and good thing to do. So I requested this presentation because I was very impressed, and I felt like you were nobody really understood what McKinney-Vento. I didn't, and it's very essential program to our district, and I thank you for all your work and your dedication. I know you took over a big job when the previous director left, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melody?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have a funding question, and with the ARP and the HCY funding, it has done some wonderful things. Are you going to replace it with another funding stream? Or the items that you were able to do, will they just go away? How do you plan to transition?
So when we started, we kind of built a transition plan knowing that these funds would end at some point. Some of what we have done is, and what I'm trying to do now is educate district staff a little more so that they can assist in some. We all have a designee actually at every building. So every building there is a designee that's a contact. Most of them are social workers, a few of them clerical, but and so my goal is to create some more manuals for them so that they can help us with some of the things that we will not be able to continue to do. We really aren't doing anything we haven't done. We were just able to kind of ramp it up a little more. So the the uniforms, we may not be able to continue to give them as many, but we still will be able to give uniforms. You know, we're looking at, I have a few people in my department there, at least I know one person that may retire. So there's a lot of things that we're looking at changing and trying to automate in our department as well, so that we can keep some of that stuff going. So.
Sure. Excellent. That's perfect. When you add to what you're already doing, I mean, that is what a lot of the ESSER dollars were allowed us as a district and other organizations to do. Second follow-up has to do with McKinney-Vento. So it is a federal program also that really has been around for just decades. Can you tell me what is, from a setting us apart from maybe other districts, other school districts specifically, what would you say are our shining beacon
So
lights?
I'm required to work with a lot of the other district liaisons. So every district in Kansas has a liaison, and I will tell you that some of them don't even know they're the liaison because they're such a small district that it's like they're also the superintendent, and then you look them up and you call them and they're like, I didn't know I was liaison. But we are fortunate enough to have a department of people that work on McKinney-Vento. Other areas around us don't have other people that help them. They are one person, and they do all of the work that my team does by themselves. And so because of that, we are able to offer more services such as the clothing room. We are able to actually make sure that my folks spend a lot of their time at the schools visiting the kids, and so because of that, they're there, they're able to go and actually see the kids where they are. You know, they can take the kid their backpack at the school. They can go to the house of the family and meet with the family. If you were just one person with 1,600 kids, you couldn't do that. So that's kind of what puts us above and beyond. And I do know the former liaison, she had created a lot of good resources and documentation that they would come, other districts would come to her and ask her, hey, do you have a form that does this? Or hey, do you have, and when we got the ARP money, we actually had a lot of those things in place already. So to me, it's the ability and the fact the district has recognized that it takes more than just one person. And so because of that, we were able to create a department that is passionate about what they do and doesn't just do the 10 things that the district liaison has to do, is able to go above and beyond project graduation, things like that. So
Yeah, and I have to, we're talking about Cynthia?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
So just have to invoke her name because she's done so much over so much time. One last question is migrant student records. What's our process?
I can't really speak to that. That's
Okay.
more Shannon Benoit's area.
Okay.
The only part that we get is once they go to Dunbar and they get them enrolled and they decide what school they're going to place them at, we have what was called an enrollment residency questionnaire for our program. They have the family fill that out. It comes to us. We call the family and talk to them, hey, what's your situation, what's going on, and then we qualify them for homeless or not. But the rest of that is done by Shannon and her team. So.
Are you Shannon?
No.
No, okay. Dee Dee.
Sorry.
Dee Dee.
My hand.
Okay, so if they are deemed homeless, it still goes to Shannon?
Yeah, they start with Shannon first
Okay.
because she does the placement of the educational side so
Okay.
that she knows what schools have what programs and where to place the students. And then they'll let us know we've received a family and we believe that they qualify your services. So what we do is then we step in and make sure, Shannon's department also has supplies and things like that they do, but we also can help with that. We have a little more donations than she gets, and so we usually step in and say, let us take care of this family so you can take care of these families. And then we just make sure that as the student goes on and they're still homeless, that they can stay in their school of origin, that they get the transportation they need and things like that. So we really share the families together, just make sure they have all of the support they need.
Absolutely.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Knock?
I just wanted to express my appreciation to you, the other McKinney-Vento staff, as well as Cynthia Martinez and our community partners several questions. The first of which, what advice would you give to our school board and our district leadership team on how we can more intentionally and proactively support our homeless, our unhoused students? So that's the first question. What can we do a better job at a systems and policy level?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many answers to that question, but I will tell you one of the things that the city is doing. I'm on the homeless task force right now, and I don't know if some of you guys have heard of that, but we are trying to do functional zero with our homeless, and it's hard because a lot of our families aren't looked at as homeless. Because when you say to somebody you're homeless, and they say, but I live in a house. And they go, well, then you're not homeless. Okay, but how many people live in that house? Is it a house with one bedroom that has 4 families living in it? Is it a house where if the landlord finds out they're living there, you're all out? We have families that are scared to get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night for fear they will wake somebody up. And so I think really it's just about listening and really finding out what their needs are and what we can do. And I think it's more than just a USD 259 issue. It's a community issue that we have to work on.
And I appreciate that the board have allowed us to share about it and inquired about it, because it is kind of one of those hidden gems that you don't realize how much they're doing for our families.
You answered my other questions.
Kathy?
Thank you. Thank you for being here for these kids. Before I got on the board, I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined homelessness in our schools. So 2 years ago, it was an eye-opener for me. So I'm very grateful for this program, and I know there's many others. I'm all about resources, and you do have this resource closet with items in there. Can you tell me a few things, like where would one go if they wanted to donate? If someone's watching this board meeting right now and they're thinking, gee, I might not be able to give money to it, but I sure could go ahead and donate things to it. Where would they bring them? What kind of items? And are all of the items supposed to be brand new, or can they be slightly used? Inform us on that so we can get that word out to the community. And thank you so much.
If you go on the district website, you'll see, you can go under McKinney-Vento, you'll see our information on there. My number's on there, as well as the administrative assistant. You can call that number and talk with her. We actually have a separate entrance at AMAC if you want to come and donate, and we can let you in, and just make a time and an appointment. Just let us know when you're going to come so we make sure somebody's there.
What kind of items, from sizes 0 to?
Yeah, so we are, our program is holistic. In other words, we serve the whole family. So we also don't just serve the students that are enrolled right now. If they're enrolled and they're part of a family, we'll serve all of the students. So even if they are infants, 0 to 5, we serve those. And so we have donations of, formula and diapers and things like that. But clothes, gently used clothes, does not have to be brand new. We actually are fortunate enough to have a washer and dryer, so if you do bring stuff, we go ahead and wash it right there and hang it up. Coats, we can always use coats, hats, gloves, things like that. We do celebrate our families when they move into permanent housing, and so that's one of the things that we always try to do, is give them a housewarming basket of just some basic supplies. We have families that, just because you move out and get a permanent house doesn't mean all of a sudden you have a windfall and you're rich. It just means you were fortunate enough to be able to find a home, but now you have to put things in that home. So we don't do furniture, but we do actually connect them to other places that do furniture. There's a place called His Helping Hands that we work with to do some of that. But we provide anything that you may have. We've provided coffee pots. We've provided some of our families that live in hotels don't always necessarily get a hotel that has a kitchen. So we've provided crock pots or Instapots or things where they can actually cook at home and not have to always go out and eat. Dishes. Generally, I'll be honest, if you call us and say you want to donate something, if we can't take it and use it in our program, we know somebody where we can. So if you don't know where to take something, usually sometimes we'll take it and say, hey, that's fine. We know that this shelter could use it or this program could use it. So, yeah.
Superintendent?
Yeah, I just want to, again, thank you guys for the great presentation. I can see why Dr. Polite stole the dollar bill metaphor because it's right on. And some of these dollar bills that we work with in the McKinney-Vento are as torn and tattered as any of our other students. But, you know, it's our strategic plan is every student future ready. And so this leans into that every single student matters. We have seen a good increase in graduation rate in our McKinney-Vento kiddos too over the past few years. So you could probably see a theme. It's all tying back to that strategic plan from the data that we shared from the equity department, from the JAG-K presentation, and this too. So great work and keep up the good work. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. I see no more questions, so thank you very much for your presentation and your time this evening.
Thank you.
And before we move on to the next item, I saw Councilman Brandon Johnson from District 1 walk in and join us for the meeting. So welcome, Councilman, and your family. Thank you for joining us this evening. Patrick, next item.
Next item, consent.
Kathy, do you have any items to pull?
Let it be reported, I have nothing.
Okay. Julie?
Nothing to pull.
Hazel?
I have nothing to pull.
Melody? It's okay. Is it E6?
E6. At least that's what I heard. At least that's what I heard.
Is it on page 7, the nonviolent crisis intervention? Okay. So Melody's pulling E6. Is that all? That's it. Okay. I have nothing to pull. Stan?
No consent items to pull.
Knock?
Nothing to pull besides E6, which has already been pulled.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept consent items except for E6?
I make a motion.
I second it.
Okay. Julie made the motion. Kathy seconded it. If everybody can cast their votes.
Pointed toward Rob, Joseph.
There we go. Motion passes 7-0. Melody?
Thank you. This is really for educational purposes for everyone that's here as well as within the community. I was looking at this nonviolent crisis intervention team control item, and it may seem, as benign, but actually what I'm relating it to are issues that we may have in the building in terms of looking at student safety as well as staff safety, administrator safety. So when looking at this particular policy, just a question that I had is whether or not the curriculum, because that's what this is about, it appears as though the CPI curriculum was updated for a training that is no longer includes a particular hold for staff members. And so that training, rather than requiring the district to pay for additional training, learned that Team Control Method, CPI, has granted us the free option to learn, teach this hold through a video library. And the reason why I raised it once again is because I wanted to be able to have access to the video, and you might ask why. The reason why is because I simply wanted to know what it is that individuals that are working with our students, that are working, I don't know if it's students that go through this training, but individuals that are working with our students in particular, I wanted to be able to see what it is that they're doing from these different holds, and the nonviolent interventions, how it is that they look at what triggers the incident or the behaviors that cause the individual to become violent, and what are the methods that are taken and interventions that are put into play in order to avoid violent outlashes or behaviors that we see. Once again, I looked at it from the lens of a student, as well as a parent of a student or a grandparent of a student, as well as staff and or administrators. So I don't think that there's anything that needs to be done. I just simply wanted to have an opportunity to speak to it, because student safety is very, very important, as well as staff. So thank you for that opportunity.
Okay, you're welcome. Do we have a motion to pass item E6?
I move that we pass item E6, and I would like to be able to have access to the video. And then the other question I had was, who else can have access to it? Is this anything that the public can have access to? Those are the questions that I had.
Do you want me to-
Superintendent, you want to address that?
Sure. Yeah, to clarify a couple things on it. So this training is for staff, not for students. It's training we've been used. In
Well, I wanted to have access to it.
right, but you had as you were talking, you had said something about you weren't sure if this was for students or not.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify, this is for staff.
Okay.
About 80% of the training is about de-escalation tactics, verbal de-escalation, sometimes manipulating the environment to de-escalate, monitoring triggers, that sort of thing. So, but there is a component of it that, when a student is so dysregulated, we have to take other safety measures, such as this specific example with the team control. The answer in a broad sense is yes to the curriculum. I don't know. I would have to check about who can see specific pieces of it. It's copywritten, so that's why we pay for our staff to be trained. So obviously the board would have access, but as far as the ability to send it out in any kind of public format, I would have to check into that.
Okay.
But yeah, for sure, you guys can see it and use it. And like I said, we've used it for, I don't know, quite a few years within the district. It's a pretty well-known standard as for keeping everyone safe, students, staff, and trying to de-escalate as best we can.
Very good.
Situations. So.
I'll look for that follow-up. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Motion's made by Melody, seconded by Hazel. If everyone can cast their votes. You did it. Motion passes 7-0. Patrick, next item.
Next item, election of officers to the Board of Education. In accordance with BOE Policy 0100, Organization of the Board, at the Board's first meeting on or after the second Monday in January of each year, the Board shall elect a President and Vice President from its members, each of whom shall serve for 1 year or until his or her successor is elected. The election of officers shall be by open ballot. Board policy stipulates that each member may vote for any member of the board, and successive ballots shall be taken for each office until one member receives 4 votes. The newly elected president and vice president shall assume their duties at the conclusion of the meeting at which they are elected.
President first.
That's true.
Results of the first ballot for President of the Board of Education. Diane Albert votes for Stan Reeser. Julie Hedrick votes for Stan Reeser. Nak Vong votes for Stan Reeser. Stan Reeser votes for Stan Reeser. Kathy Bond votes for Diane Albert. Hazel Stabler votes for Stan Reeser. Melody McCrae Miller votes for Stan Reeser. With 6 votes, Stan Reeser is the next Board of Education president. We'll now begin balloting for the office of vice president. First ballot for the office of vice president. Diane Albert votes for Diane Albert. Julie Hedrick votes for Melody McCrae Miller. Nak Vong votes for Melody McCrae Miller. Stan Reeser votes for Diane Albert. Kathy Bond votes for Diane Albert. Hazel Stabler votes for Diane Albert. Melody McCrae Miller votes for Melody McCrae Miller. With 4 votes, Diane Albert is the next vice president of the Board of Education.
Okay, Patrick, next item.
Next item, under finance, budget report.
Okay, Susan, before you come down, let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break for the board to have a little break just for a minute before you come down here. Sorry, I did that a little out of order.